Are you ready for a new RV? Are you worried that it won't live up to your expectations? This is the RV Life Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt. And today's guest, guess what? He's in a position to do something about your RV living up to your expectation. Now, Patti is not with us today. Her mom had been rushed to the hospital last week, so she went up to Philadelphia to take care of that. I hope Patti and her mom are doing better. And I just want to thank everybody that's reached out to us. Hundreds of people have reached out to wish her good prayers and thoughts. So we really, really want to thank you for the outpouring of kindness that has come to us. Now, we are here at the Florida RV Super Show, and my goodness, this place is incredible. It is so big, over 2 million square feet, 1,500 brands, hundreds of manufacturers, thousands of vendors. And guess what? The Budweiser Clydesdales are here, and I got to play with them this morning. It was so fun. They are actually in the barn right across from where I'm staying. It is just beautiful here, and this place is really, really huge. Well, that horn means it's time for today's fun fact. And the fun fact today, the question of the day is, what state delivers the most RVs? And to get the answer to that, I had to go back and take a look at 2022. And believe it or not, California, yep, those guys out there, they were the winner. $550 million in sales. Florida, Arizona, Texas, Colorado, Oregon, and Pennsylvania, all coming in with triple digits in the millions. But they're just almost all of them are less than half of what California sold. We are at the Florida RV Super Show with over 2 million square feet. This has just been something that has been absolutely wonderful. We are so excited about being here. If you've never been to an RV show, I got to tell you, you'll want to come to an RV show. It doesn't matter which one. It could be your local one. It could be one of the big boys like here in Florida and Tampa, or the one in Hershey, Pennsylvania. But you want to come out because the people that you meet and the people that I get to interview at these kind of shows has been absolutely incredible. This is the RV Life Podcast, and we'll come back with our guest right after this.
Why end your camping season when it gets cold? With the inflatable RV skirting system from Air Skirts, you could extend your camping season year-round. Reach out to Jim and his team by visiting airskirts.com for more information. RV Life Podcast listeners get $100 off a kit order when you use code RVPOD. That is RVPOD for $100 off.
This RV Life podcast is sponsored in part by Clear 2O. Clear 2O continues to bring its expanding line of water filtration products to RVers with innovations such as their DirtGuard sediment pre-filter, their 1-micron solid carbon block inline water filter, and a wide variety of high-quality filters for your RV's whole house filter system. When it comes to clean water for your RV life, the answer is clear. Clear 2O. Visit clear20.com and use the coupon code RVLifePodcast to save an additional 5% on every purchase.
He earned his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Michigan, went on to Notre Dame for his master's. That's too bad. I'm an ex-instructor at Villanova, but that's okay. He spent 25 years at Whirlpool doing, well, let's just say he did everything there. He now is the president of Newmar Corp. Casey, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
Okay, so, let's talk. Well, first of all, I got to get out of this way. I'm sitting here in the AIM tent, and they've been very nice to host us as we do the podcast here every day and help us get some great guests on the show, including yourself. And I just met you a little while ago, but I got to ask, what do you use to stay looking so young? I mean, the guy looks like he's 12 years old.
Well, that's a good question. I guess it's good genetics, I would say. I don't think I'm doing anything that anyone else isn't, but I appreciate the compliment.
You know, you worked at Whirlpool, and you did pretty much everything in that company over the years. Let's talk a little bit about what you did at Whirlpool and how that worked out for you.
Sure. So I started out at Whirlpool actually on a 1-year contract job as an engineer. I came there from a company called Steelcase, and my plan was to be there a year, maybe 2. And after 26 years, I decided to move on to Newmar. So I started out in engineering. I did different engineering roles up through the ranks for about 6 or 7 years. And then I went on to get my MBA, as you mentioned. And then I wanted to learn the business side. So I switched over to brand marketing, sales, product development type stuff, kind of a move from engineering into that. And then eventually into business unit management. I ran the dishwasher business for North America, the laundry business for North America. And then I spent 2 years over in Europe and Italy running all of our marketing there.
You know, that is an incredible story. And the only mistake I see is you went to the wrong place for your master's.
I will say it was tough as a Michigan grad, thinking that I was going to go to Notre Dame. That was a tough one. But when you have one kid on the way, and you're working full time in and out of Mexico on projects, it was a little bit out of convenience that it was 30 miles away and I could do it on the weekends. So, but that said, it's a great university and I had a great time.
It really is. I've spent a lot of time there, and I did do some guest lecturing there. So it's a great place. Now, you know, you just recently came on as the president. I think you've been about 6-7 months now.
5.5.
5.5 months now. And you came from a different industry. Let's talk about, you know, coming from a different industry into the RV world. Kind of most of the people at your level have been in this industry for a long time.
That's
so
correct.
Let's talk about how that's working out for you, and you know what your aspirations are.
Sure. So actually, Mike Happy is the CEO of Winnebago Industries, and Mike came to talk to me about this role. And I always had an interest in outdoors and camping, let's say. And so when he came along and had the conversation with me, I was very interested to talk to him. That said, he also came from a different industry. So he came from Toro, if you remember that, and came to the industry. And sometimes it's good to have an outside view of what's going on and bring that to the industry. I think for me, coming into Newmar, it's a great team of people there. They're all long history. I've got 38-year veterans. Actually, a couple of them. I've got 20-year plus veterans, and they know the business and the industry very well.
You know, your story kind of sounds like the movie Moneyball, where Brad Pitt came in and tried to introduce a new product line or a new way to do the same thing, and he was met with a lot of walls along the way. Have you found that to be your experience?
It occasionally can happen, yes. I have heard the term, that's how we do it, or something. This is how we've always done it in the industry. I've heard that a few times, which is okay. I mean, there's good things to say about the way we've done things, but it doesn't hurt to also have different perspective and maybe bring that and look at new ways of considering things. So I've told people I'm not trying to take our company and turn it upside down. I'm just trying to bring new ideas and fresh ways to look at things to make it a better long-term sustainable company, let's say.
I read a lot of articles about you and what you've done. And one of the things that a few people, the president of Winnebago, one of them, said your team building skills are going to really influence or make a difference at Newmar. Tell me about that.
Well, I guess he's probably looking at what I did in the past. I've had different teams over time, and I think one of the things I try to do is find the skill set of each person and make sure they're able to leverage that as much as they can and to make them happy in what they do. And also for me, it's work is work, but it's also a bit of a family thing. You spend more time there sometimes than you do with your own families at home. And so for me, I've always treated it as a family and tried to bring that to work where there's a caring culture for each other and a good interaction. And so, yeah, from a team building and team scores, that's usually done pretty well, I'll say.
There's an invisible wall between the manufacturer and the listener or the RV buyer. And that invisible wall is the dealerships.
Yep.
So you're really marketing to the dealerships and the dealerships out to the end user, the customer base. Talk to me about that relationship with the dealership, and how do you see making that wall maybe not be as big or strong as it had been in the past?
Sure. No, I would say that's true to some extent. We definitely sell through our dealerships, and we want to make sure those are great relationships that we have with them. I think helping them on the side of, say, our brand website or other, we have customers come to our factory and tour it 8 months of the year. So we do have a touch point with those customers. We also have our rallies and other club activities. So for me, my history has always been, I want to be where the end customer is. But I've also had a lot of roles where I've had to be a partner with the dealer. So they're both equally important, let's say. But I definitely want my team, myself, to be spending time with the end consumers as well as with the dealers.
Yes, when I met you yesterday, I just have to tell the story. We're standing talking after we had just completed a podcast like this, and Brett said to me, do you know who Casey is? And I said, no, I've heard of him, and I've read an article about him, but I don't really know him. And he pulls up his card. Now, Brett, I'm talking about Brett Davis, who is the dealer of National Indoor. Actually, I think when I did the commercial for him, he's the number one Newmar dealer in the entire country. So
he is a very good dealer for us, yes. And his team of people, Angie, Bobby, and others, Bill, and so on, they're all great people. They do a great job for us.
You're not just saying that because Angie's sitting right in front of us,
no,
right?
I see Angie and I see Brett both. I see them both sitting here. But I would say it either way. They do a great job for us.
Let's talk a little bit about coming out of COVID and entering a new world.
Sure.
Because COVID changed everything for everybody, maybe more so in this industry than any other industry. A lot of good things happened. A lot of bad things happened. But are the headaches gone? Are those things gone for you?
So I'll first say this again, coming from outside the industry, many industries had the COVID years, and they were either good or bad. Certain things, restaurants and others, where people couldn't get there as much, that was more probably the bad. Places like the home, where people were spending more time, they were getting money spent on them, and those were the good. And again, recreation was one of the goods. So I think the last 2, now 3 years was very good for the RV industry, unseen before. But as my sales leader always tells me, you kind of have to pay the piper at some point for those good things. So right now, what we saw was a lot of supply chain issues as the demand spiked and as people had, teams of employees out for COVID. So every manufacturer ran into supply chain issues, and we had those as well. That said, now we've pretty much gotten through those, and we're starting to see a very smooth runway. I was sharing with Brett not long ago some of our numbers of production, kind of to show how consistent it was. And we've had about 5 months now where it's been super consistent building. Parts are there and available. And so we've run strong now for several months.
And, one of the frustrations, I think, for the people that are buying, the consumer, the customer, the listener of the RV Life podcast, is the demand has gone up. Well, the supply chain, we're watching our parts sit out in harbors, so it's kind of difficult. So do you see that kind of settling down a little bit now?
It is for sure. Demand is definitely softening versus what it was, again, at the peak of COVID, let's say, when you couldn't find a unit to buy, or if you found it, you had to pay every bit of MSRP for it. We're seeing now that the availability is starting to creep back up, and so inventories are back. We got to a point where our inventory was, I'm trying to think, 30 to 40% of our inventory prior to COVID. And so it was very low out there. That now is back to I'll say a sustainable level. So when people are looking for that Newmar unit, they should be able to find it available.
That's just great news, I think, for everybody listening to this podcast and for me in general, because we're out there looking for a new unit. You're listening to the RV Life podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, who unfortunately is not with us right now, but we're going to hear a commercial for her just to get her into the show.
When traveling in your RV, how do you navigate? Do Do you use a paper map, a GPS, or do you use Google Maps? Our sponsor, RV Trip Wizard, has the solution, and it just works.
It just works, and boy, is that the truth. I do not move 1 inch in my RV without first plotting it out in RV Trip Wizard. Now, you get 25% off if you use the discount code RV Life Podcast. The link is in the show notes below. You just want to try it out. It's less than $50 a year. Are you kidding me? This stuff tells you things that I'm telling you, you just have to try it out. There's a 7-day free trial. Jump over to rvlife.com and find out all about RV Trip Wizard. Okay, let's talk about the tough thing to talk about. Nobody really wants to talk about. But, you know, when I met you a few minutes ago, we started talking about things, and you were really very willing to talk about it. As an industry in general, all brands across the board, I think there's the perception in the world that there's a quality problem. Talk to us about what Newmar Corporation is doing to address those concerns from our marketplace.
Sure. So, and I think the way you said it was the customer was the quality checker or something.
Yes, my partner who owns a campground and sees a lot of rigs come through, he said to me that in the last 5 years, this is before COVID now, in the last 5 years, the customer has become the quality control department for manufacturers.
Yeah, and that's definitely not what we want people to think. And specifically with Newmar, that is not the case. We continue to be a leader in the quality space. We talk to our dealerships, we check our numbers, and we know that's the case. We talk to our customers as well. One of the things that we do, we have several checks, obviously, on the line. As things go down the line, we have inspectors to go through things. We then have a quality control process at the end when the unit is built to make sure everything is the way it should be. We actually test drive it twice, not just once. We actually test drive the units twice. And then if you're picking it up on site at Newmar, we actually run it through an additional customer pickup check. And so that's one more set of eyes on it. That said, if something were to come up, and again, it's impossible to say nothing will happen when you're building, this type of a vehicle. But if something does come up, we actually keep people on site or on their telephones 24/7, which is something I don't believe anyone else in the industry does. We call them brand specialists. I like to call them concierge, because basically when you buy that RV, you get a sticker in the window next to your driver's seat that has their picture and their phone number. And that is 24/7. We compensate them for that. Now, at the same time, we're a family company, I like to say, and so if they're at a family dinner, they know they can send it on to the next representative. But there'll always be someone that picks up that phone. And one of the things when I came to the company, I stalked a few RV resorts when I was out and stopped, talked to a couple people anonymously, and they were always quick to tell me how they loved their brand specialists. They knew them by name. They had them on speed dial. They literally have a relationship with them. And so from a quality standpoint, we know we're putting out a great product, but at the same time, we want to make sure that if there is something that comes along, they feel like they have a friend to take care of it.
And that's one of the things I think that you really brought to the table. So I'm going to put you on the spot just a little bit and say, you've only been around for a few months. You're the new guy on the block. Day one, you came into your office, you sat here and said, wow, I'm the president of this company now. Let's talk a little. What were you thinking? What was the thoughts, and what was the first thing you wanted to address?
Well, the first thing probably was to get out and talk to all the employees. So I spent probably the first several weeks actually trying to stay at the site on our manufacturing campus and in the offices just to meet the different folks and spend time with them, learn what they're doing, and so on. For me, that's super important. I have always had roles where I kind of knew a little bit about it, but then I could learn more as I grew into the role. And coming into a new company, into a new space, there was none of that there. So I had to very quickly try to build that background. It just makes me more comfortable when I talk to people about the business and other things to know I've spent time, down on the floor with a service technician, or I've, been out on the line and and spent time with the guys, whether it's in the paint room or the assembly line or the chassis area. Having that knowledge for me just makes me feel better. And so I wanted to make sure I built that relationship up with the teams right away, and then learn the business. I mean, the other thing I told people is that anytime I change jobs, I spend 30 days really just digging in, learning. Between 30 and 60, I start really asking a lot of tough questions and probably, challenging status quos. And then by 90 days, I start talking to them about ideas that, I think we might want to look at, and let the teams decide then, okay, do they make sense? Do they not make sense? So we're now past, in fact, my guys were counting the days. You would ask them, like, what day are we on? They could literally tell you what day it was. And so as we pass 90 days, again, I'm not trying to turn this company upside down. It's a great company, 54 years old and making the best products in the industry. So for me, it's been small tweaks and adjustments as we go.
You and I talked about this a few minutes ago. Patti and I did a television show from a Dutch Star at the Seattle RV show. And I have to say, I'm not sure there's anything in there that I wouldn't want to have in there. It's almost perfect. Now you're driving a 45-foot
London Air.
It's
a little bit better than a Dutch Star.
Yeah,
a little higher.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Tell me about that transfer from being a camper like you were before you came into this industry. Now you're kind of driving this.
It's a different life. It's
limousine. It's the nicest of the nice.
I call camping versus RVing. Let's say, you camp and you have a tent or a trailer, and so you're in a campsite and normal. I'll say what I'm used to growing up, being out in the campsites. When you move to RVs, you start looking for something that can hold a 45-footer on a cement pad, not in the dirt, and has electric hookups because you're running 2 to 3 air conditioners. You want to make sure you got water and 50 amp and things of that nature. So it is a bit different. Again, I'm a little bit older than I was when I was camping, so it's those little things are kind of nice. The heated floors, as we talked about.
The heated floors. That's Patti's favorite.
We love the heated floors.
I just got to point out, you still don't look any older.
Thank you.
I mean, I'm sitting here. I look like I got a 15-year-old that I'm interviewing today who's the president of this huge company. Let's talk a little bit about what makes the Newmar so special. What makes it what it is?
So, that was a question I had coming in when looking at the possibility of the role and the company and the name and the brand and what it stood for. And what I would say to people is, there's probably 3 to 4 things that I would say it stands for, right? We talk about Newmar. It's the quality of the build. It's the craftsmanship of the build. It's innovations that people have brought within the company over time. We were, first in full wall slides. We still make full wall slides. The flush floor with the tile in it, things that, on the slide out, things of that nature. The comfort drive steering that basically helps you drive in high winds. Wait.
It basically drives for you.
Okay.
You got to put your finger on the wheel. But other than that,
yes. But other than that,
it rocks. I got to tell you, if you haven't tried out that feature, you got to go to a show or a dealer or it's something that when you drive that particular feature, it changes your outlook on life.
Yes. Yeah, I think of it as power steering, where before power steering existed, right? It's that next level of power steering where, again, it drives for you. And so, I told you, we drove it in a 50-mile. My first major drive was in a 50-mile-an-hour crosswind, and it drove smooth. I was very worried, let's say, and it drove very smooth. So that was great. And then let me tell you the fourth thing. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but the customer service side. Matt Utley has been our head of customer service for I don't know how long. Again, he's got 30 plus years in our company, and he basically deemed it. He called it seamless service, and basically we take care of the customer as our customer at Newmar. They're not a Spartan customer. They're not a Freightliner customer. They're not a Truma. They're not. I'm trying to think of the other brands. You name it, Lippert. They're a Newmar customer, and so when they have an issue, they can call that brand specialist, get help 24/7. And we take care of it. We don't turn around and send them to someone else. We may get on a 3-way call if we have to get a Freightliner involved or a Spartan involved, but we will make that as a 3-way call to help them out. Again, we're selling them something with our brand name on it. we're going to stand behind it with them. So that was one of the things that, as I look at Newmar again, and there's an Amish heritage to our company. We're in Napanee, Indiana, and that's still the case. And so that craftsmanship of hand built, and I would invite anyone that can get there, come to Napanee, come and take our factory tour and watch these things be built. You'll know the craftsmanship. You'll know the difference, as we say. You'll know the difference when you see that.
And again, if you're in the area, if you're an RVer and you're in the area, most of the manufacturers have factory tours like that, but that one's just a little different. Now, we took it before your days, but I have to tell you, when you watch them put these things together, when you look at a chassis with a couple walls and 50,000 wires coming out from everywhere, it's a really impressive to see the operation of how that happens.
And you notice them smiling as they're doing it, right?
Oh yeah, you seem to have very, very happy employees.
Yes, we have a great team.
Yeah, and that's great, and that leads right down to the dealer network and the people that drive your vehicle. I have met thousands and thousands of RV owners. I can't remember talking to a Newmar owner that was unhappy. I mean, and that's an honest statement. I can't remember ever talking to a Newmar owner that was unhappy.
That's great to hear.
They always brag about their unit, and mine's better than yours. Well, whatever. So it may be before your time, but the star in your name, everything's a star.
Yes.
Is there a story behind that?
I believe there is, but it is much before my time, and so I probably don't know the background. But yes, we have carried that Dutch Star, or the Star name, down to Superstar and some other things. We have the Star Foundation that we put underneath the chassis as well, that added structure for the full wall slides and things of that nature. So I believe it was part of the initial heritage, let's say, of the brand, and so they carried it forward.
Let's take a turn and talk about the future of the industry. Do you see everything turning electric someday? Let's talk about that, electric.
So let's talk about electric. I think, and our sister brand Winnebago today was introducing the ERV too. And so that's a great thing to come out and see for those who can get here or read about it afterwards. We see cars, we see, delivery trucks, they're all going to electric. We know California's passing laws that's going to make it tougher and tougher to have diesels and things of that nature. It's going to be the future at some point. The question is, and this has always been my theory, is you can't bring regulations if the consumer won't get the experience. So for instance, if it's a 100-mile range, 100-mile range, for a person in a Class A, large motorhome, they're going 300-400 miles at a time. They're not going to want to stop and charge for hours at a time to get there. So I think for us, we're continuing to look at this area and will for the future, just like every other manufacturer is in the industry. And there'll be ones that come out early on, and there'll be ones that come later.
One of the number one questions that I get asked, and not on propulsion, but let's talk about electric in the vehicle, the house batteries,
sure,
the solar,
lithium.
Lithium. Are you going to eventually go to a lithium, or do you have now?
So we do have a lithium today. Yes, we went out with lithium a model year ago, and then this last model year we made it optional on several of our brands. And as we go forward, we'll continue to offer that more and more. But we are seeing, when it was optional, we were seeing a pretty high take rate of people that wanted that lithium and the benefits that it brings.
What about solar panels? Are you putting those on standard nowadays, or are they
not
coming?
Standard, but yes, optional, and definitely putting them on. And people again, depending on where they are in the country and how much time they're spending in it, things of that nature, they make that decision whether they want them or not. But I see that continuing to grow.
Yeah, I do think I read something that said that you pre-wire for solar, so
yes,
you put the wires in there. So all I got to do is slap the thing on the top.
Ready to go. Yep.
And you're ready to go. And I think that's what everybody wants. Here at a rally like this with, I don't know, I'm going to say 5,000 RVs around us that people are camping here. The first day that we got here, the campground had a power problem.
Absolutely.
So it sure would have been nice to not listen to a zillion generators going and have that solar running. So
yeah, we saw that in the booths as well as we set up. Many of the different manufacturers didn't have power. In fact, some of them didn't have it till 3:30 yesterday.
right, I don't think the lights here still aren't on.
Still not on.
Yeah, but that's okay. You mentioned real quick California laws. As a manufacturer, do you feel that some of those thoughts or some of the things that they're putting out about the ladders they put out and then now about the diesel they've put out, is it progressive or is it restrictive?
So here's what I'll say. I my history has always said that California leads in things. They tend to be more legislative sooner than others, and then it kind of carries to other places. Canada jumps usually in pretty quickly off of European type things. So I think they're just at the beginning. If you ask that same question 2 to 3 years from now, you'll probably have other states saying the exact same thing. So it does make it tougher for those that are in California, and for sure it's gonna potentially impact the industry. But usually it's just the forefront. So it's not they don't stand alone. They just stand first.
Yeah. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, but I talked to you about this one up front. I'm going to tell everybody up front. I talked to them about this one. Why should a listener consumer think about Newmar over any other brand as their next Class A big boy?
Sure. So besides wanting to be part of the group that owns the number one selling diesel pusher in the Dutch Star, I think, I mentioned the things about the quality of the products we build and the craftsmanship. That's the stuff you see when you come inside and you get inside one. The comfort drive, trying to make sure that we provide that customer with what they need as they're using it. Again, that comes from the research we do with our customers and getting feedback from both dealers and customers. So that would be the other one. And then for me, kind of value for the money, right? And we're not the least expensive, I'll say. But you're getting a great product when you buy ours, and then it's going to hold its value as well or better. Actually, I would say better than any others that are out there for the long term. And the less headaches you deal with and the easier they are, that seamless, let's say if you have to, I think that's worth that small premium that we ask.
The one thing you said is quality. And I have to say, I have been the person who has test driven it. I've been the person I've done a television show in a Dutch Star. I got to drive it around. I got to drive it out and then take it down the road. Quality is just incredible in this unit. And I think you guys are doing a great job. Casey, thank you so much for being. We are speaking today with Casey Tubman. He is the president of Newmar Corporation. So thank you so much for being here on the RV Life Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt, and this is the RV Life Podcast. We'll be back right after this. This podcast is brought to you in part by RVinsurance.com. Getting proper insurance coverage for RVers can be difficult, as the RV lifestyle tends to take us away from our stated coverage area. The RVer Insurance Exchange can help RVers navigate tricky waters of health insurance and find a policy that travels with you, so you can enjoy RVing without worrying that your policy won't cover you. The agents at RVerinsurance.com are real RVers that understand the unique needs of those enjoying the RV life. Visit RVerinsurance.com or call 1-800-867-4330 and let the experts at RVer Insurance work for you. National Indoor RV Centers with over 1,000 motorhomes available across multiple locations. National Indoor RV Centers continues to provide an outstanding hassle-free motorhome ownership experience. National Indoor is the #1 Newmar dealer in the nation and also features brands like Integra, Winnebago, and much more. Visit NIRVC.com and become a part of the National Indoor RV Centers family. I'm Dan Hunt, and this is the RV Life Podcast. I do this with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, who unfortunately is not with us today. She had to run up to Philadelphia to take care of her mom, who unfortunately had to go to the hospital, but things are getting better and they're doing well. She should be coming home in just a day or two. Now, it's time for what I feel is my favorite part of the show, and it is our RV Trip Wizard Tip of the Week.
One of the handiest features of RV Life Trip Wizard is the copy trip feature. Planning an RV trip often involves a lot of what ifs. What if the weather changes or that campground is booked? What if we can get that service appointment or the national park site opens up? With Trip Wizard, it's easy to copy an existing trip and build out additional what-if trip plans. First, open the trip you wish to copy, then click the wrench icon. Now click on Copy this trip. You'll be given an opportunity to change the name of the trip and then click the Copy button. Trip Wizard will immediately open that trip so you can make any additional settings changes, such as changing the trip status to tentative, before clicking Save again. Your copy trip is now ready for you to make changes to accommodate any of those what-if scenarios. For RV Life, I'm Pat Buchanan with your RV Life Pro Tip of the Week.
And, you know, that is a feature of RV Life Trip Wizard that is just incredible. When we go on our longer legs, whether they be 100, 200, 300 miles, we ship what we're doing that day to my son who lives in Bend, Oregon, and he then knows where we are, where we're going to be, and what's going on with it. We are falling apart as we're doing this, right, Casey? We're having a little bit of technical difficulty, but just hold it for a second.
It's all right. It's still, I got it.
You got it there? Okay. So I'm here with Casey Tubman. He is the president of Newmar Corporation. And I have to tell you, what a great interview. If you missed any or part of that, you want to go back and listen to that, because this man has really given us some great information. Right now, though, let's talk real quick about this show. What a great show.
Yeah, it was a great show. Absolutely. Spending time here with you, absolutely great show.
No, I mean,
I know.
The RV show.
The RV show. I meant this one as well, though. No, the show's been great. We saw, a 17% uptick in the number of people the first day, ticket sales, and I'm sure today it was probably the same. It was super busy. We had a lot of people coming in and out. Honestly, they were streamlining right into the coaches. You couldn't find a spot to sneak in to some of them, and again, we feel good about that traffic coming through.
Yeah, just a lot of people here, and again, 17%, 80,000 people last year, 80,000 customers last year, and they tell me it's going to be 15 to 20% more this year, and it's just really, I feel like it's done well. This is a manufacturer show against some of the local market shows. Like we're going to be at the Jacksonville show in a couple months, and that's a dealer-driven show. So from your perspective, tell me what the difference. Tell the viewer, what is the difference between a dealer show and a manufacturer show? Well,
Probably what I would say, if you come to this show, you're going to end up seeing a lot of us from the manufacturer. So we have our club group here, just like the AIM group is here. And then we also have several of our people in-house. My lead for services here, along with, I don't know exactly the number, maybe 30 techs. It's a lot of techs he's got here in mobile. He's got our mobile techs and more here. So that's here if you come with your coach. And then in the display, what you'll find my lead of sales. You'll find my sales director. You'll find a couple of the account managers. You'll find our specialists. And so here you get to talk to the manufacturer a little bit more than you would at just a dealer show. You'll talk to the dealers there, but here you should be talking as well to the manufacturers.
Now, I have one great thing about the show and one thing that's a little bit of a problem for me. But the great thing about the show, I got to see the Clydesdales.
Yes.
I went up and pet them this morning, and they let me actually feed them a carrot. And those are just majestic animals. But I was over there yesterday, late afternoon, and I wanted to get a Coke, and it was $8.
Wow. I'm glad I wasn't buying for you that day.
So, yeah, the food, if you come, you want to probably bring your own food or bring your own drink. Make sure that you're well hydrated when you come here. What does the manufacturer expect out of a show like this? What's the goal of you spending, I don't know, thousands of dollars probably to come to this show? and talk to the customers?
Probably three, four things I'll say. First and foremost, obviously, we want to sell things, right? We're here to sell a few things. So, getting people here, letting them look at the different models. We've got 39 models in the booth here for people to be able to check out that they might not be able to see all in one place. So again, we've got 39 models here for that. So that's the sales side. Then we've got the customer side of meeting with customers and talking to them and kind of hearing their stories. And if there's things we can learn from them or we can help, communicate with them. Then we have our rally site here. Again, some of our current owners and making sure they're taken care of. And again, we bring the service here, which is nice. That's a draw for some of our folks. But again, I think the other thing is just getting out there and telling people our story of what we provide and what we bring to them.
Have people come up to you and said, "Wow, nice to meet you. I'm so glad that you're here"?
I have actually, which is a nice thing. Coming in from outside the industry, you always wonder how you're going to be welcomed. But what I would say is everybody's been super.
It is just a great event that way, and it is absolutely something that we look forward to. We probably do 5 or 6 different events throughout the year, but this event just feels different. It's big.
It's the kickoff to the year too,
and it's the kickoff to the new year. So you have 2023s out there, right?
Yes.
You have 24s yet, or
not yet? We're not showing them here yet. No, that's still to come.
Okay. That sound right there means it's time for the question of the week. And today's question is from Bruce, and Bruce is actually in our studio audience today. So, Bruce, what is your question?
Well, thank you. As a customer, we find that the number of skilled RV techs has diminished at a time that the coach complexity is getting much more complex. Some dealers won't even take you as a customer if you didn't buy from them. Is the industry proactively looking to train up the next generation of technicians?
Wait, let me take that first, then you can. My smart aleck answer is all the technicians for Newmar are over in the booth right at the other side of the field. But Casey, could you answer that on a little more technical?
Sure. And I can't speak for the industry as a whole, but I do know a few things about it. So I'll give you my 2 cents, and then we can go from there. So the RVTI, so the Technical Institute, was developed just for this specific reason. We are seeing a need for more technicians in the field and making sure that they're properly trained. In fact, we just had, I know last year in 22, they had their first all-female class, and now they're getting ready for another one as well. So that's also trying to broaden the horizon of who's in the field, let's say. But for sure, we need to continue to do more in that space. It was actually, I think it was the top topic of discussion, let's say, at the RVDA, so at the Dealer Association meeting out in Las Vegas just 2 months ago. That was the topic of conversation is repair cycle time, it's called. How fast we can get people in and out and back on the road. Super important. I mean, people buy these to enjoy them. And so if they're parked getting worked on, that's not enjoying them. So we need to continue to do more in that space, but RVTI is going to help with that.
Now, Casey, Bruce told us a few minutes ago that he's got a second question. You think we should let him have the second question?
Might as well. Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. Okay. So this is completely, we do not know what this question is. So we are coming to these answers without any pre-prep on this at all. So Bruce, go ahead. What's your second? Get a little closer to the mic for me and give me your second question.
So first, let me say I'm a few miles from 2 big dealerships, and they have signs out: RV technicians needed, no experience necessary. I don't want to take my coach there. So my second question.
Let's get them some experience through the RVTI. That'll be what we do.
So with many RVers competing for limited, affordable campsites, how can a camper get a reservation without booking 6 months in advance?
You can't. No, I'm just kidding.
We had the same answer.
I was going to ask you about the fact that more and more new RVs are being sold every single year, yet the campgrounds don't seem to be expanding. But you brought something to light. Let's talk a little bit about that.
I just was reading it the other day. Florida was adding 3,500 sites, so that'll be a help to that. But I think if you look at what happened in 2020, it was increasing as 19 was happening, but it kind of skyrocketed 20, 21, 22, the number of people that bought RVs and are out there now camping. Well, the campsites didn't go up as fast as the number of people did. And so for sure, there is a little bit of a backlog there. People definitely need to plan ahead, which is always a good idea anyway, let's say, but getting that reservation in advance, I think we're going to see the next couple of years, more and more sites will get developed. And so again, if people are listening out there and looking for an investment, probably not a bad investment to look at an RV
campground.
Site.
Yeah. About 5 years ago, it was those storage places, everybody, the self-storage companies, and they popped up everywhere.
Right.
Let's hope that some of these campgrounds pop up all over the place.
Absolutely.
And my next suggestion, in all honesty, and I'm sorry, I don't know what you drive. What?
A Newmar.
Dutch Star.
A Dutch Star. All right, so you drive a Dutch Star. You can last a couple days out there. I think and just recently we upgraded from a Dometic refrigerator that died on us. And my wife looked at me and said, Dan, it's 20 years old. So we put a residential refrigerator in, and then we had to put lithium batteries in, and then we had to put solar on. So now I've got it all covered. And I'm going to tell you, in the last 6 months, I think some of our best experiences have been in boondocking type places. And I think I'm seeing more and more public land and boondocking type places. And, for us, going 5, 6, 7 days without being hooked up to the grid is kind of a great thing. I personally really enjoy it. So I think that's going to be more and more of a factor for people. And the fact that you have a Dutch Star and I don't, you can go back and sit down. Okay. Bruce, thank you so much for doing that. I do have a t-shirt for you right after the show. Casey, it has been wonderful. I met you. I think I'm going out to dinner with you tonight. So it was really, really nice to meet you. I love your refreshing outlook with the company. I love what you're doing with the company. And I do have to say, after driving that Dutch Star, if I didn't have a really big guy with me, I probably would have just kept going.
That's all right. You can get back in one.
Yeah,
soon enough.
Exactly. So we're going to try to work a deal out for that. I know Brett and Angie are over there.
Brett's sitting right here.
Yeah,
he can help with that.
Brett's sitting right in front of me. I can't see him though. He's on the other side of the computer. But yeah, and we'll talk about that. But thank you so much for everything that you do in the company and for the industry. Having the rally over on the other side for just Newmar people, having and helping out and coming and speaking tonight at the AIM rally. I think that doing those kind of things and immersing yourself in the community is so, so important.
No, I appreciate it, Dan. It's been great.
I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt. She's not with us right now. She's back in Philadelphia. She'll be with me in Orlando next week. So she'll be back with me. Maybe we can get a couple of our YouTube videos done at that point. I'm Dan Hunt with the RV Life Podcast, and I am saying to you, have a great rest of today. And now Patti's line, and an even better day tomorrow.